Welcome to Gab and Jam, episode 119.
All right. What are we talking about today?
Today, we want to take a moment in episode 119 to recognize the amount of crisis that the entertainment industry is undergoing during this coronavirus time in the U.S. and across the world. But today, what we want to do is give you some hope. So the topic of today's episode is coronavirus quarantine. 9 things you can do to move your creative empire forward even during this time of crisis.
Right. So we're looking at being shut down at least throughout the month of March.
Yes.
And then
Into
probably the first week of April at the earliest.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even later than that.
Yeah.
In this whole atmosphere of social distancing.
Right.
The way that we can get socially closer is virtually.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so this is one of the times in which, some of the knocks against the internet and social media and all the rest of this type of stuff now becomes actually an opportunity to get closer in a virtual way.
Yes.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Okay, so the 9 things to do to move your creative empire forward even during the coronavirus quarantine.
Yeah.
Number 1, it gives you time for these 3 weeks for us to reflect on your practices. So by practices, I mean not only taking the time to maybe include more practice, more, guitar practice, bass practice, but also to see if what you have been doing in the time leading up to it has been helping to move you forward. For us, sometimes I get involved in the day-to-day so much that I forget, is this helping the vision?
Right.
So we can get sidetracked, I know, for a lot of different other ideas. And then I'm like, okay, but is this in keeping with what we originally had planned for this period of time? So our vision.
Right. Yeah. So instead, like what you say, you could take your time to go through your modes and all types of different scales and all the rest of that kind of stuff. So it gives you an opportunity to do other things other than just binging on Hulu or Netflix or whatever else kind of stuff. So I mean, one of the things that you can do is that you can say, okay, I'm going to do this because now there is no March Madness, there is no this, there is no that.
So your time won't be chopped away with other things, and you will be hopefully keeping yourself inside, because we want this to diminish for everybody. So even if you don't feel symptomatic, just keeping yourself in your home helps everybody.
Yeah.
So while you're in there, not at the parties or going out for St. Patrick's Day, you could be doing the reflecting on your practice. That's number 1. The second thing that you can do to move your empire forward is take time to take in some stimuli. So people have been asking, I know they've been asking us, what can you binge on in order, because again, as a creator, a lot of times we have to take in the stimulus in order to let it out. Since you won't be out at parties or out doing other things, this might be a good time to binge on a Netflix.
Yeah, you could do that too. You can binge on Netflix. You could get audiobooks. You could or just read books. Or, there's just tons.
So, what
and tons
would you
of
recommend for people?
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of up to people. What's your interest?
Yeah.
What turns you on? What are things that you would like to know more about? I don't know. Or maybe you might be a person that maybe you do like reading. I don't know, fiction and all the rest of that kind of stuff. Or you might be a person that really like documentaries and stuff like that. So I know Netflix and Hulu and
all of them have
Amazon. Have so many different documentaries out there. You could kind of binge on that kind of stuff, or you can just binge on YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
There are documentaries on YouTube
that's
and
true.
all kinds of stuff that you can kind of binge on just doing that. You can binge on the Beato channel, because he's always teaching you all kinds of different stuff, Joe Gilder and Home Studio channel, recording channel, and he's got tons and tons and tons of videos of, and they're little short snippet videos that you can kind of jump on and kind of learn different things about EQ, compressing, and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's time to, there's tons of stuff out there.
I was about to say, a fun fact, the other Gab and Jam theme song was actually inspired by Game of Thrones way long time ago when we took the time to actually binge Game of Thrones, and then that was the Dragon Stomp. And that was kind of inspired by listening to the title, watching Game of Thrones.
Right,
so, all right, so the third thing you can do when you're doing those 9 things to move your creative empire forward during this coronavirus crisis is you can draft some reasonable but purposeful daily activities. And so for this, I mean, again, things that you can accomplish now that you have a little bit more time to focus and reflect. What can you do that maybe you wouldn't have had time to before?
Right.
That's going to move your empire forward. I suggest no more than 3 big ones a day, but the list can be exhaustive. Just make sure you again, don't get overwhelmed.
Right. And who knows? I mean, it's like, depending on where you are, your kids might be at home with you. Mm-hmm. And so, and then you might be working from home and dealing with the kids all at the same time. So maybe during this period of time, just trying to get some sleep.
Yeah.
Might be the thing that you actually need to do, between the exhaustive cleaning and so many different other things that you're doing. But, so again, we don't want to necessarily assume that just because, you may not be occupied with other things that
you might not have new responsibilities.
Other new real life responsibilities that have made things even more difficult for you than they were before.
Yeah.
So, we definitely take all of that into consideration. So just depending on where you kind of lay on that continuum of free time. You try to think, okay, so I couldn't, if you're a person that was going out to bar, or if you're musicians who were normally doing live performances, or maybe you were touring or whatever else, I mean, this is just trying to say, hey, if there was some, project you were working on, maybe original songs you were working on, you never had time because you're always on tour.
Yeah.
Well, this might be the time to kind of go ahead and get into that.
Yeah.
And it might take your mind off of maybe the money that you're losing out on.
Yeah.
So at least that you can say, hey, I'm benefiting in this area as opposed to what I'm losing on this side of it,
I like that. Look at the rainbow on the other side of that storm. Number 4 for the 9 things to do to move your creative empire forward during this coronavirus crisis quarantine time is to take time to celebrate the small wins. This is a hard one for us, but I think the newsletter helps us at the end of every month to say, okay, leading up to this point, or as this time progresses, what can I check off the list that I have done that I can be proud of?
Right.
And that helps fuel the next group of activities.
Right. And as we used to hear all the time, don't despise small beginnings.
Yeah.
So whatever it might be, if you practice one scale today, if you did 3 push-ups today, and that's 3 push-ups more than what you did yesterday,
right?
Then that's a victory.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, if you walked for 5 minutes today,
right?
And you hadn't done that before,
whatever
it is that is something that's pushing you forward in an area that you've always felt like, I didn't have enough time to do blah blah blah, and you're able to fit it in. Then again, you just gotta go ahead and elate in whatever that is that you do. Don't ever feel like, hey, it's not enough. Because you're not doing what somebody else is doing.
And we were happy.
Run your race.
We were happy to add a small win in that we just went to the Grove Studios tour.
Right.
Which was a small group of people, and kind of connected with some local people that are in the D.I.Y. rockstar space.
Right.
They offer live rehearsal space and recording and all that. So that was a fun win to add in this time when we were trying to keep, distance from people, but it was just just a real personal, but to me, meaningful and maybe impactful connection that we could check off the list that we hadn't done before. So.
Right. Yeah. Every little bit helps.
Yeah. So, taking us to our next one, which you probably touched on a little bit earlier, of the 9 things to do to move your creative empire forward during this coronavirus crisis, is learn something new. So, as you mentioned before, I was thinking in terms of YouTube videos, there are things that I would like to, like for me, learning how to use Google a little bit better as far as building what we're doing, and just different things like that, or video making tools, or for you were talking about different scales and modes and all that good stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But this is a good time to say, okay, I'm going to take today or tomorrow, and I'm going to figure this out, and I'll be able to add this.
Yeah.
To what we do.
And again, it's not about completely saying, oh, I discovered the Holy Grail today. You know, I mean, or solving the Kennedy assassination in one day or anything like that. So don't do it that much. As much as it's a chipping away process. Yeah, so again, it's about I did something towards this goal today. Yeah. And a lot of times, again, it's that incremental process that kind of makes you look up and say, hey, I accomplished something, down the line. Yeah. But don't count the minutes.
Right.
And say, or say, I got to do this in 90 minutes.
Right.
I got 90 minutes to learn all the skills. Don't put that type of pressure on yourself. Yeah. Because then you start looking for those, kind of learn stuff quickly type of things. Learn how to play guitar in 10 minutes, that kind of thing. And it's like, really, don't go for that quick stuff. And don't put that quick stuff on yourself. Yeah. Just say, hey, I'm going to learn something about this today.
Yes.
And I'm going to continue to learn something about this today. Yes. Or the next day, and just keep building upon what you learn. Yeah. And then, because all of this stuff, these are all marathons. Yeah. None of this stuff, these are not sprints. Right. So none of this stuff is
just like them trying to stem the tide of the coronavirus spread. We're doing it day at a time, but it's supposed to over time. Right. The reason why we're doing this.
Right. And they keep telling you it's going to get worse before it gets better. Right. So again, and again, that doesn't have to be a negative thing for you. Right. As much as, I was just talking the other day. It's like, my favorite word has been patience. Patience, right. And that's really what you have to develop. You have to develop a sense of that patience and realize that this stuff is not built in a day. No. That people don't get good overnight. No. It takes time.
And that everybody who's gotten good, they've started probably either where you are or even further back than where you are.
And then the other thing is that you always have to remember you got to run your own race.
Yeah, I like that.
You have your own pace for how you learn stuff.
All right. Number 6 on our list of 9 things to do to move your creative empire forward during this coronavirus quarantine is take time to relax. Yeah. So just like you mentioned earlier, make sure you're getting enough rest. Yeah. Make sure somewhere in this whole process, you are taking that self-care time because you are no good to anybody else if you haven't centered yourself and taken care of yourself.
Right, yeah. When you start thinking about creative geniuses, we're all not Prince. So we're not these people who could work
24 hours a day, get up, go do a concert.
Never, that was awesome. Right. He left us a great body of work. Yeah. But, the rest of us mere mortals, we have to get sleep.
And I was about to say,
better when we get sleep.
And our kind of schedule, which was unintentional, but our kind of schedule is definitely on Saturday we do more relaxing and do friends and family type of things where we kind of push away a little bit from our creative process. And then on Sunday is when we unleash getting it up on social media, recording a new clip, getting back in the studio, writing the blog post. Right. It just seems like that's our flow now. Right. Is that on Saturday it's let's chill out, and then on Sunday we dive back in. So whatever your process is, just make sure that there's time for rest. Right. Somewhere in there.
Yeah, you gotta build that in.
All right, which takes us to number 7 of the 9 things you can do to move your creative empire forward during this coronavirus quarantine is to take time to clean up your creative space. This is something that I don't really like cleaning, but I do realize that I am calmer and I enjoy working in our spaces better when it is clean.
Yeah, if it's decluttered. I don't work well with clutter. So, clutter, it just bothers me.
It's distracting.
So it helps to declutter. And that could be everything. Yes. It could be, your virtual creative space.
Yeah, that's true.
Like your files and all the rest of that kind of stuff, that sometimes you have to take time to say, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that my filing system works well for me, so that when I'm looking for something, I know where to find it. I know where, what drives to find it on, whatever else.
I love that.
You want to make sure all of that's together. Or when's the last time you did an upgrade? If you needed to do an upgrade on, maybe software, whatever it might be, to say, okay, I need to take care of this, I need to take care of that. And so this might be a good time to get those things out of the way, so that when you get ready to create, you're not kind of in a situation where you're dealing with something that's not acting the way that it's supposed to.
Right.
And that's going to completely torpedo your creative process.
Right. That takes you out of your muse. You want to let that muse flow, and you don't want to stop and deal with those issues then. So maybe now make a dedicated effort to try to deal with some of those, especially if you know it's a problem.
Yeah, especially issues that you're having in your studio, whatever it might be. This is the time to go ahead and go with your troubleshooting hat on.
Yep.
And work on troubleshooting, work on doing all of that technical stuff with your tech hat on, so that then when you get ready to create, that all you have to do is think about creating.
I like that. Very nice. All right, number 8 in our 9 things to do to move your creative empire forward during this coronavirus quarantine is take time to visit some of those administrative tasks, which I would put that file management under there. But for us, I know for me, I'm going to go back and look at our web pages, our landing pages, and then even maybe refresh some of the older blog posts.
Right.
Because we are now quite a few blog posts and videos in, and I can go back and put end screens on the videos, or put newer videos and cards for some of the older videos, because now they kind of cross-reference each other.
Right, yeah.
Which, at the time wasn't possible, because the videos didn't exist, so
Yeah, the managing your social media, making sure that, hey, I got the latest and greatest stuff kind of
I like that.
Forward.
I need to do that too.
Maybe now is a good time to really pay close attention to social media, because like we said, now we are, as far as physically, we're in a time of social distancing.
Yeah.
And so the way that we can bridge that gap is virtually.
Yeah.
And so that means that, your Twitter, your Facebooks, your Instagrams, and all those other platforms are now going to be platforms people are probably going to spend a little bit more time on than what they did before.
They said streaming is up.
Right.
So
which, again,
this is great.
It's going to, again, one door closes, usually another door opens. And so it's trying to see, okay, as that door open,
what can I do?
What can I do to take advantage of that?
Yeah.
And again, it may not monetarily replace, like if you're a gigging musician who's been, touring or whatever else, what you got going on there. But again, this is about kind of planting seeds. This is about, if you think about starting a garden, it's about starting your garden. It's about, putting out the seeds, putting out the topsoil, weeding the garden, all the rest of this kind of stuff.
Like
and, watering it, and making sure that, you're not going to have
don't
rabbits.
I was about to say.
And chipmunks and everything else coming in. You don't want to have that. So that's really what this is about.
I like that. So. And finally, our final tip, number 9, of things to do to move your creative empire forward during this coronavirus quarantine is to take time to create art using the experience that we are living through. This is a unique time. We have never, in our lifetime, encountered anything quite like this.
Right.
And the fact that it's hitting us here and that it impacts every single one of us.
Yeah. That
this is something as artists that what we create here may stand the test of time, because we will be the witnesses.
Right.
And so our art will bear witness to the history that we are living through.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is fertile topic, fertile mindset to have you sit down and put those ideas into your art.
Yeah.
Some kind of way. It should make its way, hopefully, into your brain and into what you are creating, to show what your response is to it.
Yeah, that's true. One way or the other, it seems like it should kind of have an impact on the art,
Yeah.
And maybe, and again, it could be that your art becomes more cheerful than what it's been in previous times, just simply because you just needed to get away, from what was going on, or again, I think that, as the social distancing aspect has happened, and it's even taking people away from people who they're close to.
Yeah.
Again, this now becomes even more, I think, important for artists to kind of maybe, provide that escape route virtually for people.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a certain amount of escapism that's missing.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
one time,
true.
you know, you used to because the late night shows,
oh, yeah,
you know, are on hiatus. You know, sports are on hiatus.
Yeah,
There's
Broadway
so many different
shut
things
down.
Broadway shut down. So different ways that people could escape are gone.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like us in this virtual medium is up for us to kind of fill that void. You know, so that's the thing you got to kind of think about. This might be a good time if you do have, you know, video ideas, whatever they might be. This might be a good time to, you know, get those things up and going.
Yeah. I love it. What do you think? How are you dealing with the loss of part of the entertainment world during this time period, or the opportunity to get out there and do things? What are you doing to help move your creative empire forward? We would love to hear what you are doing. Drop it in the comments below. What's going on coming up?
I don't know.
Well, we're working on the funk album. Again, that's something that we can control that because that happens right here in the house. So we don't have to worry about leaving the house for that. Yeah. So we're gonna work on that, and we'll let you know when that is available.
Just like what you guys are doing, but you know, as far as what's happening outside, we don't know until we know.
Right. All right. If you dig the vibe, be sure to
subscribe.
We're wishing you love, peace, and
chicken grease.